This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello and welcome. It's Friday, July 9th, and this is Orlando Sentinel Now. Today, we talk about the latest update in the cruise ship industry and a way that you might be able to rent out your pool. I'm your host, Joe Mario Pedersen, and joining me today, I have senior content editor Richard Tribou and business reporter Trevor Frazier. Thank you both so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Kicking things off, Richard, coming to you first here for one of your most recent headlines regarding the cruise ship industry and its ongoing saga. A federal judge holds firm against CDC's attempt to delay cruise ship order. Richard, jumping right into this, what happened?
Judge Merriday, who is in the Middle District of Florida, a federal judge, granted Florida an injunction over the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention enforcement of their conditional sail order. This is the order that they have in place that lets cruise lines find a way to get back to business. Good news is that they are back to business right now, but there's a lot of limitations on how to get back to business using that conditional sail order, so much so that Florida argued that CDC had overstepped its bounds, and they have this ongoing lawsuit against them. And the judge granted injunction saying, starting July 18th, you can't enforce this anymore. It's only a suggestion. And that's only in Florida, but the CDC went back and said, listen, we're going to appeal this to a higher court, and we would like you to stay that injunction until they figure that out. Well, that could mean a much longer delay beyond July 18th. And the judge had already said, well, Florida is suffering economically from this, and that you haven't proven that you used the law that you did to enforce these things within your rights, and I think you're going to lose the suit. So I'm not going to grant your request for a stay. I'm just going to deny it. And at this point, in just about 10 days, that injunction will be in place, and Florida will not be under the requirements of the CDC to go through all the rigmarole that they said for safe cruises.
So, Richard, prior to this injunction actually taking into effect, the CDC does have a conditional sale order that was put into effect, I believe, last October, and that's still in effect right now. So, what avenues of pursuing this conditional sailing certificate do cruise ships have?
The CDC's conditional sail order, which is in effect for all of the other states. I mean, the cruise lines just got back to sailing within the last 2 weeks, and including from Galveston, Texas, and they have plans to sail from Washington, Seattle, Washington for Alaska cruises. Also plans to sail from California and eventually New York. But in Florida, they got going out of Miami and Port Everglades within the last couple of weeks, and some have the option of sailing, saying, hey, everyone's going to be vaccinated, or most of us will be vaccinated. And the CDC says, fine, under a conditional sailing order, we'll let you go. Here's your certificate, off you go. And then the other one is, if you can not prove that you're sailing with at least 95% of your passengers being vaccinated, then they have to perform what is known as simulated sailing. And so far, only one ship has done this, and that is the Royal Caribbean Freedom of the Seas. And the reason that Royal Caribbean did it is that they've got a lot of kids that are under the age of 12. And right now, nobody under the age of 12 can even get a vaccine in the United States. So the Royal Caribbean did the sailing. They got their conditional sailing certificate, and Freedom of the Seas sailed on its first cruise with paying customers last Friday. Now, other cruise lines like Carnival Cruise Line, even though they're a family cruise line, they opted to say, well, we're only going to go with vaccinated people, which made a lot of their customers upset since there are so many children that go on Carnival ships. Yet they still did it, and they got back to business as well, sailing from Miami on July 4th. So at this point, we have Royal Caribbean, we have Celebrity Cruises as well, which is mostly adults. So they got their ability to sail, and Carnival, those three lines. Coming up, Disney Cruise Line wants to do a conditional sailing order with the kids, so they're going to have to do a test sailing. That date has yet to be determined. However, because the injunction will go in place on July 18th, it could be that Disney waits till after July 18th and just does their sailing using their COVID protocol. So it will be, in their words, safe. But they won't have the CDC saying, you can't do that. So we'll have to see.
Yes, we will. Certainly more to come on this story, and we'll be keeping our eyes on it as it does happen. But if you're all looking for more detail, be sure to take a look at Richard's story available online right now at orlandosentinel.com. Richard, thank you so much. Trevor, want to come over to you now for very intriguing story here. It's summer. I live in an apartment complex that does not have a pool, but based on one of your most recent headlines, you're telling me that might not be a problem, as it might be able to rent a pool using an app called Swimply. Trevor, what's Swimply?
Swimply is this app. It launched in 2018, but it's really just starting to pick up in popularity. It's like Uber or Airbnb. It's part of the shared marketplace sort of internet there, where people with pools can say, hey, I've got a pool. I don't use my pool all the time. In fact, I barely use my pool if you talk to a lot of people who own pools. But it's just sitting there. And then there are other people who wish they were using a pool. Why not come over and use my pool? So that's what Swimply does. Swimply lets people list their pools for rent and other people to rent their neighbors' pools. Essentially, it's a by the hour type service. It's the kind of thing where, somebody might set it at, $10 to, I think there are some pools that go for even like $100 an hour. And it could depend on how many guests you have, they can set those sort of limits and whatnot. But essentially, yeah, you just get to go by and swim in someone else's pool.
I love the internet. This is such a strange but awesome idea. Now, talking to people who have done this or have rented out the pool,
Mhm.
what exactly has been their experience using Swimply?
Well, so I spoke to one man who up in Sanford who has a pool that he's been had it on there for over a year now. It's about a year and a half, and he said that he loves it. He said that it gives him the money to keep the pool clean, basically pays for the maintenance on the pool, and then on top of that makes a nice little profit. He's like, we're barely in the pool ourselves, so people coming over and using it really not a problem. They've got a nice big patio. He said, we don't interact with these people when they come by. We just sort of avoid the rooms that are near the pool when there are people in the pool. But he's like, it just really hasn't been a problem. It's just been a nice, handy little profit. My biggest question was, I was like, yeah, but you're inviting strangers to your pool. I mean, Lord knows I've done cookouts and things at pools, and they're a terrible mess to clean up and so on. And he was like, no, everything's been really nice. The guests have been really good about cleaning up after themselves and so on. And then Swimply themselves provides a $1 million insurance liability and $10,000 property damage insurance for the people who list their pools there. So little something covered in that, but yeah, they say that it's mostly just been a very smooth experience.
And from what I understand, this might not stop at renting a pool either. You might be able to rent other features as well, right?
Right. So the people who created Swimply are essentially expanding this to something they're calling joy spaces or joy space, because they found that there were a lot of homes, a lot of people who were like, hey, I've got a pool, but I also built like a mini golf course in my backyard, or we have a climbing wall or an outdoor kitchen, or these sorts of other amenities that they're like, these are things that people would want to rent and use and so on. And so in the coming year, they say that there's going to be this new feature on Swimply. You'll be able to go on there and rent these joy spaces as well. He was like, he said that there were people with basketball courts, tennis courts, and so on. He's like, there are people with go-kart tracks. You know, stuff. People have built interesting stuff in their houses, and they want to share it with the community. So that's the idea.
It's truly fascinating. If you're all looking for more information on Swimply, be sure to take a look at Trevor's story at orlandosentinel.com. And for those of you who are subscribed to the Orlando Sentinel, thank you so much for continuing to support local journalism and our work. If you want to become a supporter, it's really easy to do so. All you need to do is visit orlandosentinel.com/subscribe. But as for OSN, that is it for us today. We'll be back again next Monday with more news. A big thank you to Richard and Trevor for keeping us plugged in and what's going on in our community. We'll be back again real soon. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on orlandosentinel.com.